Hey you guys, Dev here at WeBuyHouses.com. Welcome to the Cash Offer Masterclass episode number 65. Today we're looking at this house right here in the Florida Keys. It's a possible Airbnb, so let's see if the numbers work out on this one. As we jump into it, I'll just tell you first, this opportunity comes to us from Fazio Real Estate Solutions. I told you those guys were doing stuff in Florida as well as Texas. And today we're going to look at this home in Summerland Key. It's one of the Florida Keys. We'll look at that as well. Waterfront short-term rental play in high-demand Florida Keys corridor, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, boater-friendly, strong rental metrics, etc. Here is the house. It almost looks like a manufactured house, but I don't think it is. I don't think I saw that mentioned. The address, 329 West Shore Drive, Summerland Key, Florida, 33042. And this house has 2 beds, 2 baths, as mentioned above, built in 1974, 1,172 square feet on a pretty small 0.15 acre lot. The wholesaler, Fazio, tells us the after repaired value on this house is potentially $630,000, and they're just looking for $457,500. As we come down to look at the big five, they say no known issues on roof, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and foundation there. And that's it for the start. We can kind of get a little bit of a view inside there. Looks like an older home for sure. And we'll look at the pictures here in just a moment. If you have any interest in the property, I'll first say I have no association with Fazio. I make nothing, not a penny. WeBuyHouses.com is not compensated if you purchase a house from them, but we use their content for educational purposes, and for that, we appreciate them and we let you know who they are. Reach out to Jade Vaughn at 214-646-9646 if you have any interest in the property. All right, let's jump into this one. I think it's going to be very interesting. Here is the house, and before we kind of drive around the street, I'll show you your red dot here is your house, right? And as we go in, we can see it's kind of in its own little spot there. It seems like there might be an empty lot next to it on that corner. I'll show you an issue with that. You may see it already. I will zoom in just a second. This is where it is within the Keys. So you come, I don't know if you guys, to me, this is the nuttiest thing in the world. If you knew this existed, right? To get there, you leave Florida and you drive down on a highway that is literally in the middle of the ocean. It's the most amazing thing to see that man has created such a thing. And way down there at the bottom of the Keys, not quite to Key West, but a little more than halfway, is the Summerland Key. And so as we go in, that is the location. So looks pretty interesting. Now let's see if I zoom back out. Well, I'm going to go Street View. Because when I go to Street View, I want to see, what's this area like? And immediately what I see across the street is an airplane. And that made me realize this is a fly-in, fly-out type of community. You wouldn't necessarily want to drive that whole way down that highway in the ocean to get there. You could just fly your plane over to the mainland and back. And that's a pretty neat idea. So I haven't really gone down this way too much. Like, that's a pretty neat looking place. The place that we're looking at is not that great. It's right there, okay, and kind of all those bushes. Well, actually, excuse me. It's right. Come on. It's right here. There's the plane across the street. And then if you come down here a bit, there is the airport, the runway. And so if I try to drive up it, it's going to take me up the side street. So that's the side street up the runway. So all these, see, that's a house with an airplane garage. And now those are very expensive and very desirable along the airport path. And let's see if I can get in front of that one. Look at that. There's an airport garage. And so you got a strip here. It's just the living is good when you can come out here and have, look at that thing. Look at that garage. Look at that house. Isn't that cool? I mean, unfortunately, I don't think you can have anything like that on the lot that we're looking at today. It's kind of in a weird spot. And if you go back and look at it, it's also in line with the runway, which I would assume, depending on when, people are either landing this direction or this direction, but you're going to have traffic over your house. As I don't know how busy that little airport is, but traffic's going to be flying over your house. So let's jump into the model and try and figure out what this thing is really worth. Excuse me. Oh, my model. WPH offer calculator. Didn't have it up. Okay, go to 125 so y'all can see that thing. Let's stick it right there. All right. Here is what we found. When we put in the information, the square feet, I haven't quite adjusted this yet. I put in the numbers I got from Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, Property Radar. So we went and looked at them all, and that's what we got. As you see, Zillow again is really low at 428, Redfin 518, Realtor 569, and then my Property Radar had it actually at wait a minute. It was 555. I'm sorry, and I can't open that one because I cannot show you what's in there as far as owner information. It was 555 and some change. So average is 518 with that Zillow bringing it down, but the median is 536. And so 536 compared to, what did they say, 630? We're not going to get to 630 using our method with the public sites and Property Radar. It's going to take us to an ARV of around 530. So what if we put, I don't know, 450 in there? It's 527. I kind of like that. Yeah, 527 is right in there between the average and the median. It's about 100,000 below what the wholesaler was suggesting ARV might be. And that's where we're going to start. 530 is going to be our ARV on this property there in that spot right there with the airport. Oop, not that spot. It's this spot right here with the airport aimed at it. And so it's just an interesting property there. I do think on this side they're pretty nice. And on that side, more, I don't know, regular looking residential stuff. So this is kind of what you'd see if you were looking at it on the map view. There's all those neighborhoods down here. Vacation in the Keys. I wonder what that is. It's a vacation home rental agency. That definitely makes me believe there are vacation rental opportunities, but that's one of the things that we have to question about this place, especially given its location. And I'm going to show you something that's going to cause me some concern. And if I was to think about buying this house, I would definitely have to dig into the issue of, is it appropriate for Airbnb or VRBO or something like that? And I'll show you in a moment why I have my concern about that. So we've got our numbers in, we've got our ARV set. Remember our calculation. We first compute the ARV, then we look at the house. We estimate the repairs, come up with a repair budget. That's step 2. And then step 3 is we apply our discount factor, considering our repairs, to that ARV, and we calculate what we could pay for the house. Now, right now, with 530 as our after repaired value, if there were no repairs necessary, we could pay $369 for the house. What are they looking for? $457. So right away, we've got an issue here. We're well below what they're looking for on this property. And honestly, at that $457 with a discount that we would need as real estate investors, this would have to be a really nice property, like ready to go, ready to rent, maybe already on Airbnb with some cash flow, who knows. So we do have definitely an issue there in that we're not going to come to their value, because unless the house is perfect, and we saw a few pictures, it's not perfect. All right, but let's jump into it. Let's go look at the house, see what the repairs are, and see what we come to with our calculation today on this property. I'm going to jump in there and look at it. We're inside the house and probably in the main living area. You can see some exposed ceiling with skylights and stuff. I think it actually looks better on the inside than I was thinking it would from seeing it on the outside with all the overgrowth. The pictures are just horrible. It's not looking like a ready to go Airbnb, and I'm guessing it needs cosmetic paint, things like that. It just looks a little old. And, if you want to keep all that wood like that, then, well, half your work's done. But if you don't, you would probably need to come in here and do some texturing, painting, whatever. This is obviously set up as an office area, which is nice. Not set up for Airbnb, of course. It's set up, somebody's been living here. It's their primary residence, I'm sure. And so there is the house, and I think that might be a thumb. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, when you look at it, it's not, in the greatest condition. If we look up here on the flashing, there might be some degradation right there. The eaves themselves, soffits, fascia, they all look pretty good. They said no known issues on the roof, and it just looks like it might be old. It's a while since that roof was replaced, because when you look and you see that issue with the flashing, now that is a rain gutter right there, and we're kind of seeing up above that rain gutter area, and it just looks a little rough. Yeah. Okay. The windows actually look pretty good. Well, these are sliding glass doors, but they look pretty good. It's got a little deck there. That's nice. It's not a bad house. It's really not. I think this has Airbnb potential. Another blurry room. We can't tell. The paint could be fantastic or it could be horrible. We wouldn't know. But that's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, we're, I think, still in that second bedroom. We can see you've got tile floors, which is pretty common in Florida to see tile floors. So no big deal with that. In fact, you often want it if people will be coming in, they've gone to the ocean and they've come in with sand all over them. You kind of want tile floors rather than carpet or things like that. Doesn't look like it's in bad condition. Looks like it's been lived in recently. And as we look into the kitchen, this is a very small little galley kitchen, unless it goes around there and this is an island. That I could be seeing it smaller, but the appliances look a little aged, probably a little old. If you want an Airbnb, you'd want to put all new stuff in, man. You want people to come in and post pictures of the place and talk about how great it was and how beautiful everything was. And I think this house is in decent shape. It's just not really ready to be a $500 a night Airbnb or something like that. One of the bathrooms here, kind of very, very standard white tile, some wainscoting. I kind of like that, but you can see it does need paint. That flooring probably needs to go too. Can't see in the shower. Older countertop. Faucets look okay, but again, I think really to make this place a Airbnb that people would want to go all the way out there to get to, it would need to be, in pretty crisp condition. Most of the stuff newly painted, newly tiled, etc. Here's the other bathroom. I think this has a shower as well. Pedestal sink. I think that's a vinyl flooring product. And it's got wallpaper. Wallpaper with birds on it. Doesn't look horrible. Again, there's nothing about this house, and that was it. There's nothing about the house that looks horrible. I think it just needs cosmetic, and it's a small house. If I put a 1 on there, 11,000, yeah, I think that's about right. That's about what I would put into that, and I'm going to assume it needs, some repairs. Maybe it's a 0.5 or something, not to overly penalize this place when we haven't really seen it up close. We can't see the pictures, really. They're too blurry. I'm going to assume for right now that The big five are okay. That's what the wholesaler Fazio told us. Roof, HVAC, all that stuff was in great shape. No known issues is what they're telling us. So if we threw a 15K budget on it, I think that would freshen the house up. And that would get you to kind of a base level. And I think that would get a base level of rent. Now, if you were going to make this place like really stepped up, where it would command, 60, 100% higher rent rate than what I'm about to tell you, I think this thing would get as this house right here. If you came in here and you started dropping big cosmetic, big repairs, new roof, all these kinds of things, you could easily run up a 45K to 50K budget to make this house a really nice Airbnb. And that's kind of what I think it would need if you really wanted to cash flow, because it's too expensive, man. This $500,000 or $350,000, whatever it might be. Well, let's go back. They're wanting $457. They're wanting $500,000. That's very expensive, for an Airbnb that still needs some work. And I'm suggesting maybe another 45. And so there you are fully at the $500,000. And you're going to need to rent that thing for at least $5,000 a month. And it is possible. And I'll show you, I did calculate that. So let's look at the two issues that I was really concerned about. I don't know the area, and I'm cheating. I'm using ChatGPT, and we got to be careful because ChatGPT may not always, have. Sometimes it hallucinates, so it may not always be perfectly accurate. But I basically asked, can we do an Airbnb in Summerland Key, Florida? Because I've seen people get really excited about properties before and then find out that they can't do Airbnb there, or they can't do Airbnb within certain areas. And so basically Florida state rules allow for it. That Summerland Key is in Monroe County, and they have some of their own rules, like you have to have a permit and a license in order to have an Airbnb. Not every zoning district includes or allows short-term rentals, and some of them have a minimum stay rule of 28 days, which kind of knocks out the short-term 3 to 7 nights that a lot of people would stay in these places. You've got to charge Florida state tax and local tourist development taxes. And so there's some things you got to do if you want to use this thing as an Airbnb. But this is where it got interesting for me. Said, check the official Monroe County vacation rental zoning map to see. And so I did that, and here it is. And this is what concerns me. If you look, and I realize this is not super easy to see, and I'm blocking some of it, but we don't care about that part. White areas, vacation rental permitted with the annual permit. Yellow areas, vacation rental use prohibited, only permitted with an annual permit in a gate community with controlled access and approved association that regulates and manages the rental. And as we look, let me see if I can find that map again. So here's our map, right? And we see where that place is. And as we look at this, all right, same place, right? Tell me I didn't get this wrong. Okay. There it is. Here's our map. I think, and here's that airport where it says AD. And I think this is all yellow and red, which means in the white areas, yeah, you can have short-term rentals. In the yellow areas, it has to be in a gated community with controlled access and approved association that regulates and manages the rental. I think this property might be in an area where Monroe County does not allow short-term rentals unless they're in gated communities with controlled access. And I don't think that describes, I keep going back to the wrong spot. Yep. I don't think that describes this place. That's where I was going with this, because I don't see any gated access to this thing. It's not in a gated community. It's just out here on the street, kind of on the other side. And if we were to, kind of look from above, this might be a gated area where it could be allowed. If you look at those streets, and they've all got their little waterways, it's very cool. Very cool that you could come in on a boat and fly out on a plane, right from your neighborhood. I really like the idea. I'm just concerned from looking at this map from Monroe County. In fact, let me go in just a little bit and then move it over. Try to move it up. Yeah, it's in that area right there. It's all red and yellow, you guys. I think there's a chance you can't use this as an Airbnb. If we said, okay, we're going to ignore this for right now, pretend this doesn't exist, and we're going to go say, hey, chat, what do you think? And I'm looking at this place in Summerland Key. I gave it the specs on it, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, all that, when it was built, size of the lot. If I buy this property and fix it up real nice, how much do you think we could get on Airbnb or similar sites? Now, it said, like, if it's a really nice place, like $400 a night with a 62% occupancy. But as I rolled down here, it said rough pricing band you could aim for. Basic but clean, no water view or access. And I don't believe this property has water view or access. Updated interior, nice outdoor space. Maybe could get it up to the 240 to 300. Water access, dock and all that. That's where you get to the 300, 400. If you had a plane, you would probably pay $500 a night to rent one of those properties but see, I don't even know if you could. Let's go back. Look at the airport. Well, if it's technically gated, I guess you could, but yeah, a little weird. So what did that tell us? Look right over there, right there. I estimated the income. So $240 daily rate is what I picked, kind of right there in the middle. We updated it and we gave it maybe some nice outdoor space. And then occupancy rate of 62% means we'd rent it 18.6 days a month. Rental estimate $44.64. That's not bad. And in fact, you could say it gets you close to even 1% on the 457. I just think to get it into that condition, you need 15 to do the basic cleanup, 45 to make it a really nice Airbnb that would command a higher price. And then we're left with the question of, can we even use this as an Airbnb? I don't think so. I really don't think so. This was so yeah. I'm very concerned about that. That would be definitely something to check into, because if you bought this property, if you're not going to live there yourself, you're buying it as a short-term rental, and it's got to make the monies on that level. So I think that this property is not a bad deal at $355. And then 45 of repairs would give us $400K in, and we could rent it for $4,500 or more per month. That would be a pretty good deal. I just find the 457 to be too steep on this one for us. So cool to look at a house today in Florida, right? And to go to the Florida Keys where we could boat out in the afternoon and fly in the evening, or whatever. You get the idea. Lots of options there in the Florida Keys. That was pretty cool. Excuse me a second. So that's it for today, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me and going to Florida. If you have any opportunities that you have as a wholesaler, or that you get as a cash buyer from wholesalers, send them over to me so that we can look at them together. I think that would be awesome. My email's right down there in the lower left corner. And so other than that, just remember, Cash Offer Masterclass, you can always go there on Google and YouTube. Just searching for the term, there's only one Cash Offer Masterclass. And the last thing I'll tell you is that I want you to look forward to episode number 70, where my good friend Joel and I will be breaking down the estimated cost of repairs way more detailed than we do in the simple model that I use on the show. I think you'll really enjoy that. So if a little time's gone by, we may have already recorded that episode. So go over there and definitely check that out. Episode number 70. Guys, it was great spending some time with you today. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have. And if you're watching these in real time, I just want to say happy holidays to you, your family, and your business, your associates, everybody there. We enjoy hanging out with you. And for you that watch till this very end, you're in my 1% club, and I appreciate you the most. Take care, guys.